Lord forgive me for this trap shit. Sergeant Smack make it backflip. Telly Hank did with the action. With the vital speaking Spanish. Frank Matthews how I vanish. Poof. Came back like I'm King Tut. Gold BBS is on a beamer. When Fat Cat was 10 queens up. Ball off the profit, not the re-up. Fly like Puerto Rican Jesus. Uptown like I'm Baby May. Just caught a touchdown from the Bay.
Well, Stephon went to the NBA when I was like 9, 10 years old. And Ziggy from Brooklyn, USA, who was a huge part of my success, especially as a child prodigy. He had a Brooklyn, USA, so it was a AAU program. And Stephon went to the league. Stephon used to play for him. And when they was organizing Stephon basketball tournament in Coney Island, Stephon Pops, Uncle Donald, let him rest in peace, he introduced Ziggy to my mom. I remember going to my block that day. He was like, yo, where you was? It's like 9:30 at night. I was running around. He was like, you gonna play with Ziggy. I'm about to take him upstairs, introduce you to your mother. We went upstairs, introduced him to my mom. The next day he came and got me, took me to play in Citywide. And I remember Omar Cook and them being the older players. And I became the top 4th, 5th grader in the country right there. Top 5th grader in the country.
In the country?
That next summer, yeah.
Damn.
Sebastian Telfair is, this is going to be the hardest thing to watch because he is in the city of New York. He is so young. He is a blood relative to Stephon Marbury, a relative to Jamel Thomas. He's got so many things here constantly every day. But for a point guard that young, no one's ever been better.
Growing up in Coney Island, it was often referred to as one way in, one way out, a phrase that captured both its physical isolation from the rest of Brooklyn and the challenges of escaping its violent environment. For some, making it out means reaching heights that once seemed impossible, fame, fortune, and a life far from the boardwalk. But even with success, the pull of the past, the streets, and the people left behind can bring you right back into the struggle you thought you'd outrun. Sometimes, especially with places like Coney Island, no matter how far you go, the weight of where you from always follows.
See that right there? You can't lose that. And that's something that my guy Dwight continue to have and Braun continue to have. They big ass kids.
Man, we had so much fun, dog.
That's a fact. But I don't understand what we doing right there.
Well, we was getting ready for the game.
Yeah, but I understand we inspiring 1,000 people, million people bring this up right here. Look at Josh.
BJ versus Bassy, who you got? I played Bassy at Lincoln High School.
Yeah, I like Bassy because he really started the high school movement. I think the only downfall was he was bigger than the people that was around him. They didn't understand who he was, how big he was.
Like seeing Sebastian Telfair make it out, I was like, oh, everybody, I can make it out. And then he was on the cover of Sports Illustrated, and then the cover of Slam with LeBron. I was like, Sebastian.
He didn't have a good team around to protect him from just the young age of himself.
New at 11, a former NBA player caught with an arsenal of weapons in his car in Brooklyn.
A basketball phenom out of Brooklyn's Abraham Lincoln High School, who once stood at the center of national hype, drawing comparisons to greats before even stepping foot on a college court, with unmatched court vision, slick ball handling, and a scoring instinct that couldn't be taught. He would rack up 2,785 points in his high school career, becoming New York City's all-time leading scorer, while leading Lincoln to multiple PSAL titles, honors like New York State's Mr. Basketball, and a spot in the McDonald's All-American game would only add fuel to the fire. At that very same time, he was on the same trajectory as a player that many today would say is the greatest in league history, which made his decision in 2004 to skip college completely and head straight to the pros even more electric, becoming the shortest player ever drafted in the NBA straight out of high school at 6 feet tall.
I'm looking to be the next superstar, not the next Kobe Bryant. Lenny Chuck, senior, Old Japan High School, Old Japan, New Jersey.
Kobe is Kobe and I'm LeBron, I gotta do what I gotta do. LeBron James, Jr., they've been the same area, Akron, Ohio.
My favorite player is my brother, Jamel Thomas. He's my favorite player because he's my role model. Sebastian Telfair, sophomore, Lincoln High School, Brooklyn, New York. I feel more relaxed now. It's my second year. A lot of guys are still a little shaky.
Sebastian Telfair is, this is going to be the hardest thing to watch because he is in the city, New York. He is so young. He is a blood relative to Stephon Marbury, a relative to Jamel Thomas. He's got so many things here constantly every day. But for a point guard that young, no one's ever been better.
Right now, I'm fitting in pretty well, and I like it a lot more this year because they have all the guards in the same bracket. There's a lot of competition. I like to compete at the guard position.
There's nothing wrong with going from high school to be the number one player picked in the country, but then you have another player who came out in high school playing in the second round with no guarantees. So there's different places for different people. And certain players, if they physically have the size to play at the next level and they can be there, nothing wrong with establishing your vocation earlier in life. But the other guys really need to concentrate on their education, have a backup plan to basketball.
Scoop Jackson here on behalf of ESPN. Now, in 2004, McDonald decided to take the All-American game to Oklahoma City. But it wasn't a cat from OC that had everybody buzzing. It's a cat from New York. His name, Sebastian Telfair. Now, there were rumors floating around that Sebastian wasn't a true point guard. Scoring 30 points a game, had people's minds twisted. Watch this game and watch Sebastian drop dimes everywhere.
Did anybody try to discourage you from going straight from high school into the NBA?
No.
Well, you were supposed to go to college, though. You're supposed to play for Rick Pitino in Louisville, right?
Yeah.
He definitely tried to discourage you.
I don't know. That seems to be a good thing. A lot of people saying going to college is a good thing, but it's not for everybody, and I'm definitely happy I made the decision to go pro.
You don't regret not going to college at all?
Absolutely not.
But wasn't it like didn't something happen in your projects that made you decide to really do it? Somebody got killed or something like that?
Coney Island, that was going on in my life a lot.
In the early morning hours of September 19, 2004, just days into the new school year and mere weeks before the start of Abraham Lincoln's basketball season, a birthday party at the Coney Island houses would turn into a bloodbath. 2 men would be gunned down. Yusuf McAdley, a cousin of NBA star at the time, Stephon Marbury, and a guy by the name of Alan Lewis, with witnesses describing the scene as a war zone. At least 15 rounds fired from a 9mm and a Tech 9, the bullets tearing through the early morning silence of Coney Island. Among those allegedly involved, notorious Brooklyn gangster Charles Boxing Bar Joy, a man most known for slashing the rapper Mano's face while the two were both spending time behind bars, with his name being linked to another violent act, one that would unfold just a walk from where a young basketball phenom was preparing to try to lead his team to another championship, while Sebastian Telfair, the pride of Coney Island, was becoming a basketball prodigy and the cameras were focused on his crossovers and court vision. I'm 100% sure he was focused on something else, survival. And that shooting that Charlemagne mentioned probably hit more than just one of the other random shootings that happen all the time in Coney Island. Yusuf McAdley, the murdered cousin of Stephon Marbury, shared the same bloodline as Sebastian. Now, whether they were related or not, they were family and proximity, even if not in name. And at least he possibly knew him, which had to make that shooting seem somewhat personal. School had just started, the season was around the corner, but now there was a more urgent mission. Get his family out and fast. That moment, violent, close, and unavoidable, may have shaped one of the biggest decisions in his young life at that time. Instead of waiting and his family risking another year in Coney Island, Sebastian Telfair would make the call to skip college and enter the NBA draft, using the spotlight not just to chase his dreams, but to escape the nightmare around him.
The best boys hoopsters in the land are ready to ball in Oklahoma City. The 2004 McDonald's All-American Game here at the Ford Center in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. Gay signed with UConn, Jefferson with Arkansas, Smith with Carolina, Telfair with Louisville. And the West starting lineup, Aflalo is signed with Kentucky, Hairston is undecided, Livingston signed with Duke, Swift with USC, and Williams with Carolina.
His performance in the 2004 McDonald's All-American Game would be calculated and composed. He didn't go there to score. He came to orchestrate. A game-high 11 assists, just 2 points on 2 shots, but his fingerprints seemed to be on everything. With a 30-point average in high school and his scoring prowess already proven, it was the kind of unselfish floor general performance that had NBA scouts quietly nodding. He didn't need to dominate the scoring charts to prove he belonged. He needed to lead. And the 2004 McDonald's All-American Game still kind of goes down as one of the most talent-rich and probably one of the most competitive in the last 3 decades, with Dwight Howard, J.R. Smith, Al Jefferson, and Rajon Rondo. 17 players from that game would go on to wear NBA jerseys, with only a few classes rivaling it. The 1988 roster would send 21 out of the 25 players to the league, amongst those Alonzo Mourning and Shawn Kemp. And the 2006 class would be a powerhouse with guys like Kevin Durant, Greg Oden, where 22 of the 24 players would make it to the NBA. But before he would even get there, he would see all too well how the politics would play out when he got caught up in what I would call the Star Wars.
It was gonna be the craziest game ever. And he told LeBron, you play against little white kids in high school, you ain't gonna do nothing out here.
I was playing for Team Rockefeller, but then the blackout happened, lights never came on.
If we get anywhere near the championship game, I promise problem.
To this day, me and Jay-Z have never said hello to each other again after that. And we had Shaq and T-Mac on the side waiting.
I knew they wasn't coming.
And what people don't know, Carmelo and Amari Stoudemire was gonna play. Like, we can't lose, we cannot lose. We had Sebastian, Telfair, Jamal Tinsley. Like, it was 10 to 15,000 people for the game started.
LeBron was definitely going to play that day.
It's harder to play out there than it is to play on the guard.
It was up, it's the blackout, the only station working is Hot 97, and they talking mad nonsense up there.
The Rutgers are pro court, it's just you're on the street. Oh, man, we had Jamal forfeit.
You're not really an NBA player, I guess, until you experience them at least one time.
It's crazy, man. You got guys hanging on the fence.
The lights came back on the next morning, but it was really too late to have the game.
The game will never happen, but what people don't know is that the blackout situation kind of starts the whole year before. You know what I'm saying? Not to mention, Stephon, my cousin, he's already playing with Fat Joe and Rucker. So one day Stephon come to the hood, right? He's in this new white Range Rover. We all on the block like, oh shit, staring. And Steph like, you want to go to Rucker? I'm like, to Rucker? I'm like, yeah, I never been to Rucker Park. You know what I'm saying? So I get in the car with him. We shoot up to the Rucker. When we get out the car, he got this big Gucci book bag on. We jump into this big stretch limo, which they having a team meeting in. So, you got the big stretch limo. I feel like Escalade stretch limo. And when we get in, I'm right behind Stephon. Stephon jump in the limo. And when you look to the right, Fat Joe is sitting at the head of the limo like this. So soon I get in, he like, nah, he can't get in. I was like, oh, he like, nah, he can't get in because like, he only see me with Jay-Z. And him and Jay is not eye to eye at this time at all. You know what I'm saying? So every time he only see me, I'm at the Garden and something courtside with Jay or whatever. So when I get in the limo, he like, nah. And Steph like, nah, this is my cousin. And Fat Joe like, I don't care. Like, he not getting in this limo, right? So Steph is like, he gonna play with us next year. So Fat Joe was like, you know how Joe is. You know how Fat Joe is. Like, he not, you know what I'm saying? You can't push him over by no means.
Yeah.
So he was like, oh, you gonna play with us next year? All right. So they sit down, they have their meeting, whatever. They play the game. Fast forward, the next year, I'm walking in with Jay-Z like this, with Jay-Z arm around me, going up there. So that brawls all the way into the season, going into us both getting to the championship game. But that's the undertone of what's really going on.
Well, right, because Steph and Jay-Z got a whole beef going on.
And then you got Steph and Jay-Z beefing.
Sebastian Telfair came into the league carrying more than just a basketball dream. He carried the weight of a family legacy and the hopes of an entire neighborhood. On top of the pressures of making it out alive, he was supposed to be next, the kid from Coney Island who would do what few ever had, make it big and get out. But the spotlight doesn't always shield you. Sometimes it just makes you a bigger target. And at 20, and only his second season in the NBA, Sebastian will find himself caught in a situation that will follow him for years. A loaded handgun will be discovered inside a pillowcase on the Portland Trail Blazers private team plane. It was an incident where he insisted that he grabbed the wrong bag, saying that it belonged to his girlfriend. And 6, at Justin's in Manhattan, in the incident with Fabulous.
About to go on whatever, so I see a dude in a Bentley, he pulling up, he get out, he going, everybody going into Justin's. So as I'm walking, coming out the parking lot going into Justin's, I see some dudes kind of got like the dude that got out the Bentley hemmed up. So I really don't know who it is yet. I know it's somebody in the Bentley. So they got him hemmed up. I see somebody like on a chain, he's holding a chain, this a little tussle going on, like as I'm walking by, like, you know what I mean? Piece fall on the floor, like a whole bunch of stuff going on. So I'm just like, wow, I'm watching it. Go inside, you know, I sit down and I'm telling dudes like, yo, somebody getting jacked outside, whatever. Come to find out it's Sebastian, because Sebastian he actually came in and he was like going crazy, like he on the phone, like, yo, get over here now. A whole bunch of stuff going on, right? Long story short, and
So real quick, who was Sebastian? Like, what was it? Do you remember his last name?
Sebastian Telfair. He's a basketball player. That's Stephon Marbury cousin.
Well, okay. So I remember seeing an interview. It was on Cam Capone News. Someone from Fabulous's crew, Street Family, talked about they were coming in and they saw the scuffle, you know, and they saw you like pissed off or whatever else. And then a shooting occurred, and there was like 12 of them, but Fabulous ends up getting shot.
Just 6 months after the chain incident and the Fabulous shooting, in April of 2007, a routine traffic stop where Sebastian would be pulled over for speeding. And after a search of the vehicle, police would find a loaded .45 caliber handgun tucked under the seat. He would go on to plead guilty to criminal possession of a weapon and be sentenced to 3 years probation. But by now, the headlines weren't about his potential anymore. They were about his problems, and beneath it all was a young man that still was trying to find his balance between the league and the life he was trying to outrun.
And 3-game suspension after he pled guilty. I mean, this is now your second gun situation. Why do you feel like you just needed guns around you? You know, listen, I have guns too. I'm not anti-gun. I got guns in my house, multiple ones. I'm pro-gun, but I don't really carry them around like that.
I don't really got no answer for that.
New at 11, a former NBA player caught with an arsenal of weapons in his car in Brooklyn. Sebastian Telfair most recently played for the Oklahoma City Thunder. Around 3 a.m., police saw a car illegally parked in Clinton Hill, which then tried to drive away with the lights off. Officers found a semi-automatic rifle, 3 loaded handguns, a bulletproof vest, lots of ammo, and 2 bags of marijuana. Telfair and an 18-year-old who was with him now face multiple charges.
Here in the third.
Thunder shooting 45%. Telfair with the kind of shot that he put in when he played at Abraham Lincoln High in New York City.
Split up about 75 to 100. Last year led the NBA in scoring at 32 points per night. Telfair
wants him to beat him over the top with contested threes. That time wide open. Tell you what, Telfair is really exposing him right now.
At Barclays Center. Telfair gives it up. Adams with a slam.
What kind of speed was that coming through the middle of the floor?
Warp speed.
In the NBA, or all sports for that matter, success is never really promised. Careers aren't really built on talent alone. They're shaped by timing, a fit, by culture, and even sometimes by chaos. The difference between a perennial all-star or a Hall of Famer and a forgotten player, it might come down to one draft selection, one locker room, or even one missed opportunity. And Sebastian Telfair's story is a masterclass in how fragile that equation really is. Now, let's be clear. When I talk about probability in this context, I'm not talking about stats, or I'm not talking about PERs, or even box scores. These probabilities that I'm about to speak on were generated by AI using a different lens. The team structure at the time, coaching history, veteran presence, and how well an organization developed young guards. So pretty much this isn't science, it's context. And in a league built on razor-thin margins, sometimes a career can turn just like the lottery balls before the draft. Now, in 2004, the Phoenix Suns held the 7th pick, just a few before the Trailblazers, and they were going to select Luol Deng, but they would flip him to the Chicago Bulls that same night. In return, they would get some guy by the name of Jackson Vroman and a future first rounder that would eventually become Nate Robinson in cash. The motive of the move was cap space, and the mission was to reinvent the franchise with speed, spacing, and tempo. The head coach at the time, Mike D'Antoni, was gearing up to unleash what would become one of the most influential offensive systems in NBA history, the 7 seconds or less offense, a system built on instinct, ball movement, and relentless pace. And ironically, it's the very same style that would later be refined and made famous by the Golden State Warriors, and currently the go-to strategy of basketball today. Now, just imagine a quick, high IQ, instinctive point guard dropped into that system. He wouldn't have needed to be the guy. He would just need the structure and the freedom within a system that Phoenix could have given him. To try to prove to y'all this theory, I used the same advanced analytical methods that NBA front offices use today. Statistical modeling based on usage, pace, coaching system, and rookie performance projections. And when you looked at it that way, it would show that his projected rookie stats in Phoenix during the 2004 season would have been right around 14 points per game, 6 assists per 36 minutes. The numbers kind of support it, and the system favored it with a projected success probability in Phoenix about 75%. Then 3 picks after that, and 3 picks before the Trailblazers at number 10, you have Cleveland taking Lou Jackson out of Oregon, who would only end up playing 73 games in the NBA. But had they drafted Sebastian, they would have been pairing him with LeBron, a fellow high school phenom, and somebody he seemed to already have a close relationship with. Now, in that system, he wouldn't have been asked to carry the franchise just to complement it, on top of being on the same team as LeBron, possibly helping relieving some of that pressure. Now, his projected stats with Cleveland during that year was about 12.3 points per game and 6 assists in 36 minutes. A slower pace and kind of a smaller fit, but still his projected success probability was right around 70%. And then you have pick number 14, one pick after Portland. The Utah Jazz would go on to draft Chris Humphries, who's almost more famous for his shenanigans with the Kardashians. But had Sebastian Telfair slipped just one spot lower, he might have ended up in Salt Lake City under Hall of Fame coach Jerry Sloan. And that might have changed everything. Utah really wasn't chasing headlines. They were kind of building quietly. And one of the most respected coaches in the game, a guy like Jerry Sloan, didn't demand talent. He developed it. Sebastian Telfair's projected rookie stats using that advanced analytics method with Utah has him averaging just about 8.6 points and 5.7 assists per game in 36 minutes. And I know y'all thinking like, boy, cut it out, because those numbers might seem underwhelming at first glance, but in Utah's system, rookies' stats kind of aren't meant to wow. They were just really the foundation. And if you need any proof to that, you know I provide it all. Look at what happened just 1 year later when Utah drafted a guy by the name of Deron Williams. The real basketball fans might have heard of him. As a rookie, he would put up modest stats of 10.8 points per game and 4.5 assists in 28.8 minutes. Good, but not really great. But in his second season with the team and consistency, the system would pay off. He would go on to average 16.2 points per game and 9.3 assists. A leap. And by year 3, he was averaging 18.8 and 10.5 assists. He was an NBA All-Star, an All-NBA player, and would go on to be a gold medalist with Team USA. Now, not by any means am I saying that Sebastian Telfair was better than Deron Williams, or even saying that he would have had the same career that he had. But I'm just saying, if he got drafted by Utah, he would have had that same foundation that he never got in Portland, and probably throughout his entire NBA career, with that same leash, that same structure, and the same chance to grow into something greater. Under a coach like Jerry Sloan, Sebastian Telfair wouldn't have really been rushed. He would have been refined. And using his projected success probability with AI, it would come in at 80%, the highest of any team that drafted in the first round that year. And I know a lot of people don't like talking ifs, as my pops used to always tell me, if my aunt had balls, she would be my uncle. But I'm just saying, I'm trying to look at it from a different perspective. I'm sure we'll probably get some people in the comment box saying that he was too small, he probably shouldn't have made it, he was overhyped. But to make it that far from a place like Coney Island, that shit don't just happen by accident. And you really could almost blame anything from the guns to his confidence level to even the choice of bitches that was sent his way based on his interviews when you get to talking about how his career played out. But how he was able to make it out of nothing from the forgotten part of Brooklyn, going on to build basketball courts and show other youngins that it's possible, regardless of what the rest of the world or basketball fans think about him. He'll always go down as a legend in Coney Island. Now, y'all get in the comment box. Y'all let me know what y'all thoughts was on his NBA career and the projected hype surrounding it. Now, let's not forget, you can go back to the Sports Illustrated episodes and it would show that he was on the same exact trajectory just 1 year later as a person that's now widely regarded as the best basketball player ever. Now, y'all make sure y'all hit the red bell and subscribe button right under this video so y'all know when this real Trill Spill shit is dropping. Y'all get in the comment box below. Y'all let me know what cities we need to go to, what stories we need to tell, what we missed, what we got wrong, all of that. Y'all make sure y'all tapping with me directly on Instagram, Twitter, POP_A_LOT. And until the next jug, y'all know how we rockin'. Shades Popalot. Salute the almighty mob.